Namaste all. Happy to join from Dharma Gurukulam through Samvada and meet everybody. So we are a Gurukulam dedicated to Bharatiya Vijnana, where we delve deeply into ancient Indian sciences and the texts that are relevant to them and the pedagogies in which this may have been taught. We've already presented a brief of this in our channel, and here we have some among our children from the Gurukulam, Anadhi Dharma Gurukulam here. We wanted to present to you a brief on how these texts are and how they are designed. How was math taught in earlier eras and so on. Similarly, all fields of sciences. Every day, any Gurukula teaching anything always begins with the Guru Vandana. So we'll do a small Guru Vandana and we'll begin. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om
Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Manyanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
So with such chants, our early morning begins at 4:35 in our Gurukulam. We chant Sahasranamas, then we do the Guru Puja, Ganesha Puja and Go Puja. Following that, we study various subjects such as Sanskritam, Bharatiya Ganita, Ayurveda, Nakshatra Vidya, Itihasa, Niti, Puranas and so on. Now, we will present a small verse from Bhaskaracharya's Leelavati, composed in the 12th century, that talks very advanced mathematics.
कर्णाभिहतिर्द्विभक्ता फलं स्फुटं तुल्यचतुर्भुजे च समश्रुतौ तुल्यचतुर्भुजे च तथायते तद्भुजकोटिघातः.
So now we have, what is Bhaskaracharya describing here?
In this verse, he is talking about the area of all types of quadrilaterals.
He's talking about quadrilaterals here. Bhaskaracharya is talking about quadrilaterals that sounded like a morning stuti we do in our puja room. Atulya karnabhi hatirdvi bhakta phalam sputam tulya chaturbhujecha. What is the tulya chaturbhuja?
Quadrilateral with equal sides. So tulya means equal and chatur means four and bhuja means arms, but in mathematical terms it becomes sides. So chaturbhuja means four sides. Then tulya means equal. So equal four sides.
So there is a four equal sided figure. What can it be? In math, it can be two kinds of figures. What can it be? A square or a rectangle or a rhombus. If it's a four equally sided figure, what will it be? A square or a rhombus. But the word square or a rhombus doesn't tell us this big difference between what these two things are. What is the difference between?
So the difference between a square and a rhombus is, for the square the diagonals are equal, whereas for the rhombus the diagonals are unequal.
So now in Indian mathematics we clearly say Atulya Karna Chaturbhuja, Sama Chaturbhuja. It's an four equally sided figure with two unequal diagonals. Now Bhaskaracharya is saying that in the case of such a figure, what would its area be? The product of
Atulya Karna. And
the two unequal diagonals. Atulya Karna are the Karnau are the two unequal diagonals divided by
2. Dvibhakta. So Dvi and Bhakta means like divide by 2.
Divide by 2. So he's saying that's the area of a rhombus. But what happens in the case of a square or a rectangle? Ayata means a rectangle. Similarly, Chaturbhuja, a simple Sama Chaturbhuja means a square. In those cases, what is he saying? Bhuja Koti Ghataha. What is the meaning of Bhuja Koti Ghataha?
Bhuja, as I said before, is the side. And then Koti means a line that is perpendicularly contesting the Bhuja. So the line that is perpendicularly contesting one side will become the breadth. So like this is the Koti and this is the Bhuja. So Bhuja will be like the bottom line. And then the Koti that comes on the top is in perpendicularly contesting the Bhuja. So he say that Bhuja and Koti, this line's length and that line's length, you ghata. Ghata means multiply. So if you multiply that and this, the Koti and the Bhuja, then you'll get the area of a rectangle or square.
Rectangle or square, not a triangle. In triangle, what would be the formula then?
Gunam bhumyardham spashtam tribhuje phalam bhavati.
What is phalam here?
Phalam
Result here means area.
Area. Okay. Phalam is area.
Lamba gunam. So lamba is height.
Okay.
Lamba gunam. Gunam means multiplication. So lamba gunam bhumi ardham. So bhumi is the base of the triangle and lamba is the altitude of the triangle. So lamba gunam bhumi ardham. Spashtam tribhuje phalam bhavati. So lamba gunam multiply the height. Bhumi ardham base by 2 gives the exact area of a triangle. Phalam sputam.
The perfect
Area
of a
triangle.
Why earlier there were other approximations. So he has to say this is the perfect area. So he also gives proofs for this, right? Their commentators, Ganesha Devagya, they give proofs. What about a trapezium? Are we studying a trapezium here?
Yes.
Bhujen yatra samana lambe lambe nanikhnam kumukaikhya kandam.
So what is he saying here? What is ku?
Ku means bhumi.
Bhumi.
So bhumi also, and then over here it's base.
Base.
And
what-
mukha means face.
Okay.
So now the face now.
Kumukaikhya khandam means what?
You multiply the ku and the mukha.
Is it multiplication? Aikyam, does it mean multiplication?
Addition.
Addition. Aikyam means face plus base divided by 2. So this is face plus base. Kumukaikhya khandam. Dividing it by 2. Kumukaikhya khandam. Then what is he saying? What should that be multiplied with? Chaturbhujen yatra samana lambe lambena nighanam kumukaikhya khandam.
So must be multiplied by the lamba.
Lamba is the height, as we saw in the triangle formula also. Like this, in engaging songs, various formulae were presented. Other than this, we also solve very complex quadratic equations also. Shall we chant one equation?
Partha karnavadaya marganaganam kruddhorane sandadhe tasyardhena nivarya tacharaganam मूलैश्च चतुर्भिर्हयान् शल्यं षड्भिरतेषुभिस्त्रिभिरपि छत्रं ध्वजं कार्मुकं चिच्छेदास्य शिरश्शरेण कथिते यानार्जुनः सन्दधे.
So here Partha is doing Karnavada and he's shooting.
Vectors of arrow.
Yeah, it's just raining arrows, right? And Tasyardhena Nivarya.
Half of that is used
For
for
defense.
defense.
Half of that is used for defense.
And
Moolayishaturbhirhayane.
and 4 root x is used for tackling the horses
Horses of whom?
of Karna.
Okay, horses of Karna. He's tackling the horses of Karna with 4
Root x.
root x. If x arrows were used, x by 2 is used for defense, 4 root x is used for horses of Karna. Then Shalyam Shadbihi.
And 6 for Shalya.
Who's Shalya? Karna's charioteer is Shalya. But Shalya is also
Nakula Sahadeva's uncle.
Nakula Sahadeva's maternal uncle. But now he is riding the chariot for Karna. How did that happen?
Because once Shalya unknowingly thought it was the Pandava camp that he went into, but he went into the Kaurava camp and he was treated with a lot of hospitality. And then he said, him and the people he was accompanied with said, we should give our lives for these people. And then they see that it's the Kaurava camp.
Then Duryodhana comes in. Then Shalya goes to the Kaurava side.
Yeah, to those who have given us this food, we'll give our lives to, says Shalya. And Duryodhana surprisingly walks in, right? And now he has to go to the Kaurava camp. He came with 1 Akshogini of warriors. Otherwise, 7 and 11 should have actually been 8 and 10. But it became 7 and 11 now, the ratios. So, Shalyam Shadbihi Atheshu Bhistribhirapi Chhatram Dvajam Karmukam. What is Chhatram?
Umbrella of the
Chariot.
Karna's chariot's umbrella is Chhatram. What is Dvajam then?
The flag.
Flag of
Karna.
Karna's flag.
chariot.
On top of a chariot, there is always mounted a flag, right? Why? Clear demarcations. Today, ambulance has a clear demarcation on top of it. To know which camp, who's coming at me, right? To know it, right? You can't do a self-goal in this game, right? So you've got to be very clear. So we have a dvaja, we have a flag on top of a chariot. Then, so one he hit the umbrella and smashed it, one the flag he thwarted it, then he used one to destroy Karmukam. What is Karmukam?
Just like how Arjuna has Gandiva, like that Karna has Karmukam.
Yeah. So in Mahabharata, we see that Shankus are all given names. The bows are all given names. So the bow of Arjuna is Gandiva. The bow of Karna is Karmukam. So Karmukam was destroyed with one arrow. Finally, in Yuddha Niyati, if the opponent keeps fighting you, you keep trying to dissuade until he surrenders. If he is not surrendering, then only then you aim at the head of the opponent. So in the math class, there is a quadratic equation we are trying to solve, but there is also Yuddha Niyati and a story. Yes. So 1 is finally aimed at the head of Karna. What is the equation we get here? X by 2
Plus 4 root x
plus 4 root x plus 6
plus 3.
plus 3 Chatram Dwajam Karmukam plus 1. 6 for Shalya, 3 for these 3 objects, 1 for his head. X by 2 plus 4 root x plus 6 plus 3 plus 1
Is equal to x.
is equal to x, is the total number of arrows employed. Now, how do we study this in our grade 10?
Minus b
Minus
plus
b
or
plus or
minus.
minus root b square minus
We do have something like that in our 10th standard. Solve for x. X square minus 8x minus 20 equal to 0. It's a simple question asked like that. But now we have a big story and we can never forget this question as well. Right? So this is how Bhaskaracharya weaved Leelavati. It became a very popular text across Gurukulas of the country that there are so many copies of the manuscript. Now, if Ganita was learnt like this, how were biology and chemistry learnt? They were learnt in the field of Ayurveda. Ayurveda looked at the entire Prapancha as the play of the Panchabhutas. And hence the Tridoshas in every being had to be balanced well. What does Ayurveda? Are there 3 important texts in Ayurveda?
yes, they are called the Brihatrayi.
What are the Brihatrayis?
There is
Charaka Samhita, Shushruta Samhita,
Ashtanga Hridayam was written by whom? Bhagavatarya wrote the Ashtanga Hridayam. We study the Ashtanga Hridayam in our ashrama. Here and there some Charaka Samhita verses we study. In Ashtanga Hridayam, can you recite something?
ब्राह्मे मुहूर्ते उत्तिष्ठेत् स्वस्थो रक्षार्थमायुषः शरीरचिन्तां निर्वर्त्य कृतशौचविधिस्ततः अर्कण्यग्रोधकधिराकरञ्जककुबाधिजं प्रातर्भुक्त्वा च मृद्वग्रं कषायकटुतिक्तकम्.
See, they've told a troublesome verse. Now they are talking about Brahma Muhurta. They asked for Ayurveda and now they are talking about Dinacharya in Ayurveda, right? What is this verse talking about?
so it says that so a person who wants a healthy life must wake up at Brahma Muhurta.
Oh, Brahma Muhurta, 9:30 a.m.?
No,
4:30.
4:30. Is it dynamic or is it static?
it changes.
Dynamic. Depends on the sunrise time, right? 2 muhurtas prior to the sunrise onwards, we have the Brahma Muhurta start. So, now Dinacharya and many of these, do we follow that?
Yes.
Most of the days, huh? Honestly, most of the days. But yes, so Dinacharya, we understand that upkeep of the body, whereas modern biology makes liver, the systems of the body very abstract. Ayurveda tells you how to upkeep them and as well understand the sciences behind them. How about Nakshatra Vidya? Do we study something in?
Yes.
अनुलोमगतिर्नौस्तः
पश्यत्यचलं विलोमगं यद्वत् अचलानि भानि तद्वत् समपश्चिमगानि लङ्कायाम् उदयास्तमयनिमित्तं नित्यं प्रवहेण वायुना क्षिप्तः लङ्का समपश्चिमगः भवन्दरः सङ्ग्रहो भ्रमति.
Who wrote these lines?
Aryabhata wrote them.
Aryabhata wrote them. What on earth is Aryabhata talking about? When was Aryabhata born? When did he compose this?
Aryabhata was born on 476 CE.
476 CE he was born. Then what is this we are chanting now?
This is the Aryabhatiyam.
Aryabhatiyam.
He wrote Aryabhatiyam in 499 CE.
499 CE. How old should he have been then?
23 years old when
Which
he wrote
city
it.
was he in?
He was in Kusumapura.
Kusumapura. Kusumapura is modern day Pataliputra, right?
Patali.
What is he talking about here in this verse?
Here he's saying about the spin of the earth and how we see everything rise and set. So first he starts by saying that imagine that there's a person sitting on a boat and rowing, and then the person going in the boat, the same way he sees everything that are stable on the other side of the river, the trees and all, he sees them going backward as he's going forward in the boat.
Today too in the trains we see that as we travel forward in Anuloma Gati as we go, in Viloma Gati we see all these stationary objects. So too, what happens, this Bhapanjara, what happens?
When a person standing on Lanka doesn't mean Sri Lanka where it is. Lanka is a technical term in Nakshatra Vidya where the meridian and the equator meet. Like there's a point where the meridian and the equator meet. So that is called the Lanka in...
Not any meridian. Just the Ujjain
The
meridian.
Ujjain meridian,
Today, the prime meridian passes through
Greenwich.
Greenwich. In earlier Indian tradition, we considered
Ujjain to
Ujjain has the Mahakaleshwar temple. So Kala, right, the lat long, right, the 0 point is on along the Ujjain meridian on the equator when they intersect. That's the 0 point on the earth. For somebody situated there, Aryabhata is saying that the entire celestial sphere, Bhapanjara, what would happen
It will rise and set
in the
east and west. So it will rise in the east and set in the west.
So it apparently seems to rise and set, just like apparently on a boat when all the stationary objects seemingly go backwards. Like that, apparently, the entire sky is rising and setting. In reality, we are spinning, is what Aryabhata is saying here. And he's saying that this will happen in Lanka very specifically. You see, will the sun rise and set in the North Pole?
No, it will be 6 months day and 6 months night.
Will you find an east and west and North Pole and South Pole? How can you see? How will the sun behave? Will it rise and set?
No, it will just go around. Because if the sun is over here, the earth is tilted towards it. And then the earth is rotating like this. So someone on the North Pole, it'll just be the sun will just be rotating for them. As they'll keep rotating like this, the person standing here will also keep seeing the sun. But for someone located here, they'll keep spinning around the earth. But then for a person on the North Pole will be facing the sun. And then it'll be spinning on the North Pole. So when it's just spinning over here, he'll always be facing the sun.
So this phenomenon of sun rising in the east, setting in the west in itself won't happen everywhere on the earth, right?
Only below the Tropic of Capricorn and Tropic of Cancer.
Below or above
in
Tropic
between.
of
Between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, that's where
the sun comes to the
Zenith 2
So
times.
over there only, if your longitude is between
latitude
is between Tropic
23.
of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, then if you're and then that at that place only, like in these places, the
sun comes to the zenith.
zenith. Otherwise, the sun just moves like this from east to west, never comes to this zenith. So like this, there are many interesting things in the Indian tradition, in Indian texts, how they have pedagogically presented all these as verses and very nuanced reasoning way back as early as 1500 years, 2500 years back and so on. And in the Indian tradition, it's very clear that all of education and its purpose is for
Loka Sangraha.
Loka Sangraha. It's towards the benefit of all beings in all universes. So every session, every class in Gurukula, we end with this invocation.
Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurupriya Namaha. Harihi Om.
In the Indian tradition, we look at a very grand unifying perspective to what our existence here is, right? We look at ourselves as a part of a whole. We don't deal in terms of exclusivity. We have a very large heart, and we have even the recent G20 summit, the age-old Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam that we had as our motto, talks to the strength of the civilization and the large-heartedness based on which our entire community has survived. We never had a social security number, but we did have a lot of social security thanks to a harmonious community that lived together. And we looked at not just human beings living together very harmoniously, but also all beings. The Panchamaha Yajnas that we do in our everyday life took care of all lokas, all beings everywhere. And more than anything else, the bhava, the intention in which you pursue something matters the most. Here, lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu. May all the universes, attain to greater sukha. Kham means space, sukham means a good space, a great space to be at. So may all parameters align such that it empowers everybody in a greater ascent. Now, we wish for this for all beings in all universes. However, there can be largely various opposing viewpoints to this. Nonetheless, we stay firm in this larger perspective and act firmly as per our swadharma. That is also very clear in our tradition. So, the dharma with which we pursue all activities is for Loka Sangraha. Today, when we learn tech, when we learn nuclear physics, it need not be for Loka Sangraha, because there is a value neutral approach to education. In Indian education, it was dharma sapeksha vijnana. You studied jnana in a way in order to protect dharma, protect the well-being of all beings in all universes.